Hi everyone, Danny Bader here, and welcome to another episode of Back to Life, our podcast where I interview people from all walks of life to hear their stories and the insight and wisdom they've gained on this wonderful journey called life. So enjoy the episode and be sure to pay attention to what inspires you to create more happiness and fulfillment in your life, because that's what we're here for, right? Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Back to Life podcast, where we share the stories of other people that hopefully inspire us and encourage us to move through life, both in the good times and maybe the challenging times. So I have with me a friend of mine and an old coach, Phil Martelli, who I met back in, 1982 when he started his coaching career at Bishop Kenrick, and certainly has a good journey through then. So I think you will enjoy some of what we're going to talk about and glean some insight from Coach. So, Coach, thanks a lot for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Yep.
Thank you for what you did and those of your time did for me.
Yeah.
Because you taught me more than I taught you. And what you taught me was coaching was about people.
Yeah.
It was always about people. It was never about an X and an O, an offense or a defense.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, and has always been about people for me.
The relationships, yeah. That's
Absolutely.
Cool. And when you coached, heck, we were, Jimmy and Duffy and all these guys, Chucky, we were 15, 16, I guess, as sophomores, and you were...
I was not much older.
So you're 10, you'll be 65?
I'll be 65.
55.
And I never really thought of it that way when I was coaching and saying, that first group of guys, Brian Raff and David Angeloni, that I coached were 17 or 18, and I was 22.
Yeah.
I always felt comfortable in a situation where I could teach, and that's what I've always have seen basketball to be, is a teaching opportunity, teaching not only young guys to get better as players, but to get better as people. Yeah. And that's why this is so intriguing to me, what you're doing and how you're helping people. I'm not really sure that titles matter. I don't think W-2s matter. I don't think what you drive matters. I think the fact that at the end of the day, that I help one person.
Got it.
And that I also get the help that I needed from one person every day. Teach and learn.
Yeah, cool. Seek support, right?
That's it.
Well, you taught me a couple things as I reflected on getting together with you. I remember one time that we were warming up and I was shooting left-handed jump shots, and you yelled at me and hollered and said, "Danny Bader, can you make every right-handed shot?" And I said, "No, Coach." And you said, "Get out of the gym." And I left, and I learned that I shouldn't practice left-handed jump shots for a little while. And then you taught me, and it probably wasn't until I was in my 30s or whatever, I would hear from people when I was playing there, you should be getting more playing time. You hear from your parents, you hear from your friends. I thought the same thing. I thought, damn it, I should be playing a little bit more. And then as I reflected on that as I got older, I thought, well, maybe I should have practiced a little bit more, as opposed to the playing. So you certainly teach people, influence people. Sometimes that lesson happens in the moment.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, as you know, it happens 10 years later where you just reflect on something,
I think that one of the greatest compliments that I've been paid over time is someone that will come back and say, "I remember this."
Oh, yeah.
And it could be just one statement. I'm really big in life and in basketball, that I think we have to be quick, but we should never rush.
Right.
And people would say, "Well, I don't quite get that." And when people would come to me and ask me about, what are your team rules? Well, I had one team rule when I was at St. Joseph's: be on time, because I thought it was the ultimate sign of respect, and I thought it prepared you for life.
Yeah.
So being on time at St. Joseph's, if you were late for a practice, you didn't practice that day.
Yeah.
Because this is something that you love doing, and you decided to come late. Really making a statement that your time is more valuable than everybody else's time.
Our time, yeah.
Can't work that way.
Yeah.
And I also would explain to a young person to say, sometime the ball's going to go away. What are you going to do for life? You want to start a landscaping business? That's a great idea. You're going to need $1 million seed money, so you're going to meet a banker at 10 o'clock. He's going to have that $1 million for you at 10 o'clock. If you show up at 10:10, the $1 million left.
Yeah.
It went to another company. So if I could instill that now, that idea of respect of each other's time, I think it would serve well for life.
Sure.
So it's always been, to me, about much more than a ball and a game and a result in a game.
Yeah.
I've always wanted this to be about, can I help you and can you help me become a better person?
Yeah. No, again, and as we reflected on this, I remember when we lost to Judge with Luciano and those guys, and I think the one, definitely the next practice, but maybe the next two, we didn't touch a ball.
Right.
It wasn't about basketball. It was about just discipline and getting our heads back in the game because we didn't have them. So we ran a whole lot, I remember. But as you said, it was what lesson can we learn from this? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, any time that you get knocked down, and all of us are going to, everybody that watches, everybody that listens, everybody that you talk to, they're going to get knocked down.
Right.
And it's the matter of, can I get up? It's not over.
Yeah.
Nothing has ended. But the idea that you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and say, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
That's why I've always been favorable to the Philadelphia basketball player, because the Philadelphia basketball player understands you are going to lose at times. There are people that are better than you in a park, in a gym, on another school team. But pick yourself up, dust yourself off, hand them the ball, the proverbial ball,
and
even in business.
Let's go.
Right? You didn't get that sale. You weren't able to close on that deal. But guess what? Did you wake up and is there another deal on the table?
That's it.
And what did you pick up from the day before that will now take you forward? Dust yourself off.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of ways to get support, and there's a lot of people, your families and your close friends, and the idea of, I can take that next challenge.
Sure.
The last challenge is in the rearview mirror. This challenge is in the windshield.
Yeah, good. So let's just talk. We'll go to the past just a little bit. 34 years at St. Joe's, 24 years head coach, National Coach of the Year, 7 NCAA tournaments, right? Real good career. 2 or 3 best memories from those years. 2 or 3 best memories.
Well, first I'm going to give you 2 that jump out. One would be 33 years I went to graduation, and seeing the guys in the program getting to that point in time, that they could celebrate that with their parents, and that was an achievement that they'll never lose.
Right.
That was always a big deal to me. And then my first year as the head coach, so 24 years ago, we came up with a Christmas charity. We literally passed a hat at one of our home games, collected the monies, and then brought these 18 to 22-year-old young men who are at St. Joseph's free of charge, and we adopted family. And we went from 1 family to 4 families. But not only did we adopt a family for Christmas, the players were responsible to shop for their family, to wrap the gifts for their family, and to deliver the gifts to their family. Good. And that we always emphasized when we went into those houses, Dan, that it was important that their presence be more important than the presence that they were leaving. Cool. And those 2 memories, those 2 moments seem like a moment in time, but they evolved over the 24 years. And then the other thing that always jumped out to me was the smiles on people's faces. So when we had it going, and obviously, there's a lot of acclaim for, I won the most games in the school's history. Right. And then we don't really publicize that I also lost the most games in the school's history because I coached the most games in the school's history. But
it's all a matter of focus there, right, Coach?
Right. It's either glass half full or glass half empty.
I like it.
So the impact that a group of young guys could have in playing a game, and to see the smiles on people's faces, whether it's in a church parking lot, the dry cleaner, stopping for gas, around the campus, that's what drove me. Yeah. I wanted people to smile. I wanted people to see it as their team, my program, their team, and to celebrate that. And those are the things that jump to me rather than an individual game or an individual an individual
number 1
player.
ranking, Sweet 16 finally.
None of that. Yeah. And then the 4th thing that really jumps out to me is through some of the difficulties. So my mom passes away 18 months ago, and all of the former players and staff people that reach out and would end a conversation by saying, "Coach, I love you," and then going forward to my dad passing away in February, and then the end of my career at St. Joseph's, and the overwhelming number of 18 to 28-year-olds. Now, no one's ever a former player. You're not a former player. You're one of my players.
Right.
And that never changes. And the fact that they could embrace the relationship and say, "Coach, I love you, man."
Yeah.
It makes me to this
what
point
it's
where
all
I can't
about,
where
right?
I can't even talk about it. And even in the last 24 hours, I've had occasion to talk to guys, talk to these players about any number of different topics. One guy looking for a pro tryout, another looking to mentor a young man, another a high school coach. All of these guys, and they're ending their conversations with me with saying, "I love you," when in the male world, that's like a little,
no,
it's really not a thing.
Not with me, brother. I leave it love all the time. You know that.
Right.
So the St. Joe's things comes to an end then. What, in March, right?
Yeah, March.
End of March or something?
Yeah, towards the end of March, maybe 18, 19.
Right. So there's a lot. We're not going to go here, and we talked a little bit. We're not going to go on the judgment of how this all went down because there's enough people doing that for us.
Right.
But when that went down, when you got fired, what was going on? That little voice in your head, your thoughts, your feelings,
my family. Because in these positions, in the CEO position, in the human resources director, I think we get things flipped, Dan. I think we end up putting job and responsibilities, and then we do family.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think it's really important that we fight that and flip it so that it was family. So the first thing that went through my head is my family. I have to get my family knowledgeable. I have to get them whole, and I have to keep my eyes so that as much as I can, I can lift them up.
Right.
The second thing that ran through my head was my staff, and that extended way beyond the assistant coaches.
Oh yeah.
But my administrative assistant, the young guys who were working in film and analytics,
Sure.
All of the people that were engaged with this program over time.
Yeah.
And then my extended family, my sisters and Judy's family, and making sure that, okay, here's where it is, and we're gonna go into a bunker. We had to go into a bunker and kind of process. And the first 3 or 4 days, I was trying to process, maybe I was wrong. Maybe my approach of being open to everybody, maybe my approach of letting everybody kind of see behind the curtain. Maybe I should have looked at it differently, or a relationship with players. Maybe I should look at that differently. And then after 4 days, I went, no, I can't let that
So you
happen.
reflected on your whole process, your way of being a coach.
Right.
Yeah.
I reflected on everything. And then the support was just overwhelming. And it was a national tsunami of people reaching out. And for whatever the reason, I grabbed onto this idea. So when we end conversations many times, we'll say, let me know what I can do for you.
Sure.
So when people would say that, I would just make a list. And I would think, you know what, some point in time, I'm going to get up, I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to need those people. Not that I'm going to use them, but I want those people to know how appreciative I am that they could lift me up, and that it was important to then start the process of what would make me me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to change.
Right,
so what would make me me? Was it going to be a television opportunity? Was it an opportunity in the NBA? Was it, well, I have to leave the area and coach again at any school? So all of I I compared it to fishing. I've never fished in my life.
Yeah.
But I said, let me just throw these lines in the water.
Yeah, Norristown.
Right.
We don't fish too much up there.
Not a lot of water.
No.
So I was putting lines in the water, and then I have to give a major salute to the Philadelphia 76ers organization. Brett Brown and Jim O'Brien reached out to me. They asked me if I would be interested in coming in and just watching how they prepare for the playoffs. So I went there every day.
Great.
I didn't let a lot of people know.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want it to become a media thing and and I didn't want it to be people thinking, well, that's it. He's found his niche.
Yeah,
because I was still trying to heal. So
what was a major emotion that you had? Concern for your family finally, but anything for you?
Failure. I thought I failed. I really did. I felt like I had failed the assistant coaches. I thought that
new recruits probably.
I thought all those players. I thought that I had failed my own family.
Yeah.
Because to watch the pain brought I was in pain, but to watch them brought more of this pain and angst. But I also knew this. It's not the right word, Dan, but I knew that I needed. I was very aware that I was not in this alone, and I wasn't going to get out of this alone.
Right? Yeah. Seek support, man.
So to me, companionship and love really kind of carried the day.
Sure.
I answered every phone call. I answered every piece of mail, every email, every text. I answered people to say, you know what, you've taught me again. You've taught me, because when the next person's in that position, right? Let's suppose someone lose a parent. At our age, you're losing your parents, or they lose a job, or they lose an opportunity, or they're battling a diagnosis.
Sure.
It was incumbent on me to reach out to them to say, you know what, you're not alone. Whether it be a prayer or just a word, I felt lifted. I really did feel lifted.
It's so important, for anybody that's listening or whatever, as we go through our challenges, when we connect with other people, right, our brain releases that oxytocin. I mean, it's a chemical in our brain, and there's no way we don't feel better. So too often, we're so conditioned that I can't ask for help. I got to be strong. I got to go through this on my own. It's a belief that's cultivated when we're young and we go into new jobs or whatever. And it's really wrong. If you're hurting and you're out a little bit, man, you got to get some support. Friends, family, faith, whatever. Just surrender a little bit, right?
Dan, I now kind of relate this to my players, and I would say to them, look, here's how this is going to go. Academically, you're at a tough school at St. Joseph's, and obviously a tough school now at Michigan. But the idea of I can get this. You did it.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you're in school and you're going, I can get this. I can get this. So you give the parental answer. How's everything going? Great.
Yeah.
How's everything going? Great. And now they're reporting, and you're like, now you have to explain that.
Yeah.
So I would always be insistent. With my players and say, yell for help.
Yeah.
Yell for help. It's not a weakness. In fact, asking for help is a strength.
Yeah.
It can be an absolute strength. And in today's world, my stomach churns for young people because of this mental illness scourge. And if we could just get them one at a time, yell for help. Please believe me, it's not a weakness.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness.
Yeah, I hear you.
And there are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people out there that want to help. Now, it may be they can't lend you $1,000, but they can lend you an ear.
Right.
They can grab lunch with you. There's ways for people to get help. Right? You can get help. You're not in this alone.
Yeah.
Life is a participatory sport.
It is, man.
It is not a solo activity.
And it ain't perfect,
no,
right?
It's not.
That's what I say. Life's not perfect, and that's okay. So let's move then from St. Joe's. So now you're you're out of St. Joseph's, and you're in with the Sixers a little bit, just doing some work there. You've processed kind of moving through this. you know, in my work, in my writing, vision is a big piece, right? As I moved through that accident years ago, until I saw myself moving through that trauma of losing my buddy, nothing changes, right? So it's so important when we're in transition. It's not unicorns and rainbows, you know, I mean, it sucks sometimes. So let's acknowledge that. But what's really important is to say, let's see the other side. So what was that process when you said you thought to yourself, what's going to make me again, right? I think that's vision. You started to look to the future. What I'm going to create for myself and my family. How did that all start to play out, and how did you get to Michigan and Juwan?
Well,
what was that like?
There were a lot of like lines in the water. Mm-hmm. So was there another college position that would excite me? Mm-hmm. Factoring in that it would be a turning upside down on my own family. Mm-hmm. Would it be for the right reasons? Was I just going there to say, I know I can do this? Or was it really a place that Phil Martelli could be Phil Martelli? Mm-hmm. And as I watched the coaching carousel, I was like, well, I'm 64. I've never left Philadelphia.
Right.
There's probably an assumption out there that I have all the money I could possibly have, and I have all the comfort. And so all of those things, as they were kind of, well, that didn't fit, or that doesn't fit, or I'm not really, that's not hitting my heart. I had interest with broadcasting, and people talked to me about that, and we made some connections in that area. Then the NBA was intriguing. Is that a world? How do you get into that world? Does somebody have to open the door? Do you go in the back door? Do you go in the side door? Do you have to go through a window? Yeah. NBA International. What would it be like if somebody came to you and said, listen, I want you to spend 6 months in Switzerland and coach a team?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then my family would be here.
That look so like, right? Yeah.
What would that feel like?
Yeah.
And then interesting ideas in today's world with the NCAA and the NABC and even Coaches versus Cancer, all kind of like big picture. And I just kept waiting for that moment to say, something's going to touch my heart, and then I'm going to know.
That intuition will kick in.
And the story goes like this. We went to Disney to celebrate Judy's 65th birthday. 17 of us in our family. We all went, and I made a pact. At that moment in time, you've used that phrase a couple times. I was going to be in that moment. I put the phone away. I didn't take the phone into the park. I didn't take the phone to meals. I didn't take the phone. I would get up early in the morning. I would answer text. I would answer email. Put the phone down. I made no calls for a week. And I just thought, if somebody is really out there, if there's a plan, and I believe this, if there's a plan from above, that person will find me. So I went a week and did nothing. And I got home and I said, okay, now, and I had all my columns. Well, here's a broadcasting column, and here's an NBA column, and here's a college column. And I probably had 100 calls to return. And it was a Monday morning, and I was sitting in my den, and John Calipari from Kentucky, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, calls me, and he asked me what I was doing. And he said, get off the phone. Juwan Howard would like to speak to you. We spoke for an hour and 20 minutes, and Dan, within the first sentence, I said to myself, he just touched my heart. Right on. Because of humble, genuine, and knowing what he didn't know about this whole college game. He had not been interviewed yet for the job. Right. And at that moment in time, it just started to roll. And
so hour and 20 minutes goes like that, probably.
Yeah,
Call
it
with him.
It was easy. It was easy. It was comfortable.
Easy's a good indicator, right? Of a good choice.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. And then things started to move in his world, and interviewing for the job and being offered the job, and he's double checking and vetting me, and I was doing the same. Sure. Because there's a difference in
you gotta know what you don't know. Right?
He's an iconic figure in college basketball with the Fab Five. Sure. He's been to 2 Final Fours. He's won 2 rings. Played 19 years in that league. Coached in that league. And when people will come back to you and say he's one of the 5 best individuals in the league, I knew what they were saying. And so it kind of evolved, and there was cross-checking and double-checking
sure.
and all of those kind of things.
Private detective mode, right?
Yeah, and then at the same time, though, because previously we've talked about there's 16 other people in my family who are impacted by me, and I didn't want it to be selfish. Mm-hmm. And talked to Judy and said, here's how we can do this. Mm-hmm. She can stay in Philadelphia. I can be in Ann Arbor, come and go. Mm-hmm. She babysits from 3 of our grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Work that out. So it was that movement. Mm-hmm. But because of your world, the leadership thing, I'm really kind of transparent on this. I still pain because assistant coaches and their families were impacted. Mm-hmm. 9 players left the program, 4 or 5 who were coming and guys who were there, they left the program. And to the outside world, it looks like Phil landed on his feet.
Yeah.
I had this pang in me that said, I just don't want anybody to think I'm selfish.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
But I have that part of my leadership because I never led ideas or I never led teams. I tried to lead people.
Right.
And I have that, and I work at it. Mm-hmm. Like I try to process things every day on how can I still be of assistance while understanding that I'm at the University of Michigan because of Juwan Howard's diligence and because of my unbelievable belief that he's just not going to be an average college basketball coach. He's going to be a superstar as a college basketball coach. Yeah. And I'm thrilled to be driving through the windshield and not through the rearview mirror.
Yeah, that's right. That's why the windshield's bigger, right, Coach? Right. You know that. So you're out in Michigan now, and how many assistant coaches there? 3 or 4?
Well, there's 3 of us that are full time. That means we can go recruiting. Mm-hmm. We can go on the court with the players. Mm-hmm. We can study film, and then there's a remarkable support staff: administrative assistant, basketball operations,
logistics,
the player personnel person who handles the players' kind of logistics and movement. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a graduate assistant who's involved, a video coordinator. It's an entity. Mm-hmm. It's not a small program.
Oh, I understand. I can imagine.
It's a true entity.
I've always liked that program,
and headed by just a remarkable guy, just a remarkable, genuine, caring about family guy. Mm-hmm. It's been very special over the last month.
That's cool. What value do you know that you're going to bring to the program and to Juwan as a first-time college coach, university coach?
Well, I think the experiences. I haven't done it on that level. Mm-hmm. When you look around and say that, well, this is bigger. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this is still going to be about relationships. Yeah. It's still going to be about basketball. Mm-hmm. It's still going to be about recruiting. And it's still going to be about preparation. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that because I thought about that idea of the value. Mm-hmm. First of all, that's the reason that I went, because I knew there was value.
You're not done yet.
I didn't want to go there to be a mascot,
right? Yeah.
And say, oh, great, this is look.
Yeah, I can still work for a couple of years,
right?
Yeah, no.
So there's a real value. And I wouldn't overstate this, but the value is that in my own skin, I'm not afraid to say, this is what I experienced. Mm-hmm. This is what I experienced on the positive. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is the experiences I had, and I made mistakes. Sure. I did things. When I coached you, I made a lot of mistakes. My language was deplorable. I was rushed a lot of times instead of now calm and really understanding that to get respect, you have to give it first. Mm-hmm. So all of those kind of, the willingness to share is what I think my value is going to be. Mm-hmm. It's not like I have a magic zone defense that no one in the Big Ten will be able to figure out. But to be able to say, hey, this is what I think. Mm-hmm. And my feelings are not going to be hurt if that isn't what comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So there's an energy and a purpose that this was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to exhaust myself for Juwan and for the University of Michigan.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
You always have. Yeah, that's cool. So what do you see for the University of Michigan this year? Any predictions?
No.
Had to ask.
I do know this.
I'm sure I'll be watching you in March if I had to bet.
They've had remarkable success with a tremendous Hall of Fame level coach in John Beilein.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that Juwan Howard's stamp is going to go on this program immediately. Mm-hmm. I don't think that people are going to spend all year saying he's a first-year coach, he's a first-year coach, he's a first-year coach. He has gifts, and those gifts will come out. And I do know this: there will be joy. Mm-hmm. There will be joy. Not that there wasn't joy. I mean, 2 Final Fours in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Juwan is so excited about player development and representing Michigan. Mm-hmm. Those young guys are going to know how to represent Michigan. Yeah. They know already. I now think it's heightened because Juwan is a graduate. And
he was them, right?
He was them.
Yeah,
that's a great description.
He was. That's right, man. So listen, most people are obviously not going to have the opportunity to be coached by you, right? And even to get to know you and get the influence and get the principles that you live by. So based on our conversation here, two or three things that you would offer to people as they continue on this journey of life, just like you are, and just like I am.
I think that. To me, number one thing is, in every decision that you make, no matter where you are in life, no matter what age you are in life, every decision that you make has to be based on respecting your family name. That's really a separator for all of us. Every one of us has an individual family name that it's our responsibility to protect and to respect. Yeah. I think that's a really big deal. I think the second thing is to be a lifelong learner. We're all in positions to teach, and whether it's our children or our grandchildren or a kid on the street or a newly hired employee. But I think that if we can also focus on what can I learn today in technology alone, like people our age need these young people to give us
think about how you recruited 30 years ago versus how you recruit now.
Right. You know? So I think that teaching and learning every single day is vitally important. And then I believe the concept of you're just the latest, you're not the greatest. Yeah. The greatest are the ones that are going to go into the Mount Rushmores of the human race. Right. So embrace that. Yeah. Embrace that.
That's okay, right?
And if you can, by embracing that, whatever situation you're in, your family life, your business, your church, your community endeavors, strive to leave it better than when you got there. Yeah. So if you're there a day or a year, or you're there 24 or 34 years, or whatever that's going to be, leave it better. Yeah. Leave it better because of who you are, not what you are.
Yeah, that's good. All right, well, listen, I've certainly enjoyed chatting with you, and I know we'll be watching in March. So as we wrap up, just think about what Coach offered to you, right? You heard those final 3 thoughts. The other ones that I would just kind of reiterate again is ask for help, man. Cry for help, scream for help, ask for support in life. It's a good thing. And also when life kind of throws us the unexpected curveball, right? Hit the bunker for a little bit, process, settle, and then say, okay, what's it going to be like when I get through this, when I'm me again, whatever. But the power of looking to the future is a good one. So make sure you pay attention to that. So thanks a lot for joining the podcast. I appreciate it. I think you got some really good tidbits. And Coach, I love you, man.
Good to see you. Love you.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Back to Life. Our conversation sure got me thinking about some things that I need to pay attention to in my life. And I trust the same occurred for you as well. So until next time, each day when you come back to life, be sure to always be inspired.